right, we're rolling.
I'm Peter Griffin, and this is Shopping Cart Roof Shopping Cart, guys. Okay, go.
To truly answer the question of who Peter Griffin is, we must first examine the world that he inhabits. Quahog, Rhode Island. Quahog is, on the surface, your average American town. Suburban sprawl, strip malls, and backyard barbecues. But if you peel back the layers of this seemingly ordinary town, you'll find a bizarre undercurrent where reality constantly shifts, and the mundane often collides with the absurd. In many ways, Quahog mirrors Peter himself, a place where the chaotic and the everyday coexist, almost as if the town is as perplexed by his presence as we are. Peter is not merely a man, he's a caricature, an exaggerated reflection of the American everyman. He embodies the working class husband and father, but with his flaws magnified to almost absurd extremes. Impulsive, self-absorbed, and profoundly out of touch with reality. Peter represents a version of the average American male who isn't just unaware of his flaws, he actively chooses not to understand them. He doesn't just stumble through life, he stubbornly refuses to engage with the complexities of the world around him. His every decision is an exercise in misguided confidence, and yet he's blissfully ignorant of how ridiculous his worldview really is. Peter doesn't just make mistakes, he reinvents them, repeatedly, as though each bad decision is an opportunity to assert his unwavering conviction that he's right, no matter the evidence to the contrary. And here's the kicker. Peter's failures aren't just due to his lack of understanding. They're a result of his active refusal to engage with reality. Where most characters might struggle to understand the world, Peter is different. He's not ignorant because he can't grasp things. He's ignorant because he just doesn't want to. It's almost as if he's allergic to knowledge and deliberately resists any attempt to learn or grow. This intentional ignorance is what makes Peter so fascinating. He's not just a character who stumbles through life. He's one who chooses to stumble, content in his own disillusion. This behavior, of course, isn't unique to Peter. He draws from a long tradition of TV dads, characters like Archie Bunker, Homer Simpson, and even Al Bundy. But while these figures occasionally confront their flaws, Peter is different. He doesn't wrestle with his shortcomings. He embraces them. His refusal to learn or change is what sets him apart. Peter is the ultimate parody of the self-assured man who believes that confidence alone is enough to carry him through life. In the episode Padre de Familia, Peter embarks on a crusade against Mexican immigration, only to discover that he is actually Mexican. After learning this, Peter never stops to question his own position. He simply moves forward, as if his newfound identity doesn't challenge his entire worldview. He's perfectly content to remain blind to his own contradictions. Seth MacFarlane, the creator of Family Guy, has described Peter as a representation of everything wrong with America. It's a bold claim, but one that holds up when you consider Peter's character as a reflection of societal contradictions. MacFarlane taps into the inherent flaws of the American culture through Peter, using him as a mirror, one that distorts and exaggerates the very traits that often define the national psyche. Peter embodies the American dream in its purest, most unearned form. A man that believes his own self-worth is enough to justify his actions, no matter how misguided they may be. He represents the belief that confidence equals competence, a notion that is often celebrated in American culture despite its glaring lack of substance. The show uses Peter to critique a society obsessed with individualism and self-promotion. Take, for instance, the episode PTV, in which Peter, frustrated by censorship, creates his own TV network to air whatever he wants, no matter how offensive or absurd. Peter's solution to censorship isn't thoughtful dialogue or compromise. It's simply to break every rule he can find, with no regard for the consequences. His rebellion isn't about principle, it's about convenience. It's about him and only him getting his way. And yet, here lies the beauty of Peter Griffin. The absurdity of his character is also the brilliance of his satire. Peter's behavior isn't just funny because it's outlandish. It's funny because it reflects how a society can prize confidence, entitlement, and selfishness while remaining blissfully unaware of its own contradictions. Peter's refusal to confront his flaws, his ignorance of the world around him, and his constant need to assert his own importance all serve him as an ironic commentary on the way many people approach life, especially in a culture that prioritizes self-assurance over self-awareness. For example, let's look at Peter's persistent belief in his own greatness despite his complete lack of talent. In the episode Death is a Bitch, Peter fakes a terminal illness in order to escape a medical bill. The satire here isn't just about Peter's antics. It's about how people, like Peter, often resort to absurd measures to escape the realities of their own situation, especially when they feel that the system has failed them. Peter's actions, while funny, hold up a mirror to a culture that is often quick to blame external forces rather than face uncomfortable truths about its own shortcomings. But Peter's delusions are not just played for laughs. They also highlight the fundamental disconnect between ambition and reality. Peter dreams of grandeur, but his lack of effort and intellect consistently pull him back into mediocrity. It's a cycle we can all recognize. The man who dreams of success but never takes the necessary steps to achieve it. And yet, Peter is somehow always rewarded in one way or another, despite his blatant lack of effort. This perpetuates the myth that anyone can achieve greatness simply by wanting it hard enough, ignoring the true factors that often determine success. Peter Griffin, then, isn't just a bumbling sitcom dad. He's a satirical figure, a character so absurdly confident in his own shortcomings that he becomes the perfect lens through which we can critique American culture. Through Peter, Family Guy holds a mirror to a society that prizes self-assurance above self-improvement, that celebrates individualism while ignoring collective needs of its people. And while the humor often comes from the absurdity of Peter's actions, it also serves as a sharp commentary on a culture that regularly mistakes confidence for competence, entitlement for achievement, and mediocrity for success. So, who is Peter Griffin? He's more than just a cartoon dad. He's a reflection of the contradictions and complexities of American culture. Ridiculous, self-assured, and blissfully ignorant, yet somehow convinced that he's the main character. He represents the idealized American dream turned upside down, a man who believes in his own greatness despite evidence to the contrary. And through him, Family Guy offers us a chance to laugh, but also a chance to reflect. Reflect on the values, behaviors, and contradictions that define us as a society.